We all have the ability to access different levels of ourself. There's like the conscious level, and then there's the unconscious level, which a lot of us unfortunately play a little too much in the realm of our unconscious, not even
Mhm,
aware of how habitual we're being
mhm,
from our actions to our level of thinking to our feelings, which perpetuates what it is that we create and attract into our lives.
mhm.
Or you can rise above and choose to look at this from the perspective of exactly what you just said. If this was happening for me, if this was the monster at the end of the level that all I got to do is master it, beat it, pass this test that will then up level me, what would that be? You will handle that differently every single time if you can zoom out a little bit and look at it from a higher level perspective of your higher self.
Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod.
Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod. It's your girl, Brooke Jean, and I'm so glad you're here. You guys, when I first birthed this podcast, I put together a dream list of guests, women that I was inspired by, that I wanted to come on and share their stories. And when I tell you that today, one of those women is here for the most juicy conversation, let me just tell you, it's here. So let me tell you a little bit about Allie Reeves. Allie Reeves is the host of the All In With Allie podcast and an online business mentor for female entrepreneurs who are ready to be, do, and have their definition of all. After growing two successful businesses from the ground up and scaling her current business to 7 figures via her social media, Allie's passion has evolved to helping women do the same in their own unique ways. She is a firm believer that one's online brand and business should do at least two things for the founder. First, it should feel like a healthy obsession in the best way. And second, it should attract the level of revenue the business owner desires. Allie's mission in life is to help women create businesses and brands that do just that. You guys get ready. This one is just full of inspiration, things that you might want to jot down in your journal or your planner or your notebook. Allie shares with us her story and her entrepreneurial journey of how she got to where she's at today, how she juggles that with motherhood, how she has created her version of having it all, and how she actually manages life and navigates in that frame. She talks about the importance of outsourcing things and asking for help and letting help in, because we are all about normalizing receiving as women, as mothers, as entrepreneurs. And lastly, she shares about how something that has recently happened that was really, really hard in her business, how she made a powerful choice that leveled her up in life, leadership, and business in all the ways and informed her newest offer, which is a program called Alchemize. So, anyways, without further ado, my loves, I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. It was truly an inspiration to me, and I know it will be to you. Let's just get into it. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom in a life unperfected. Y'all, I am so excited when I tell you that the guest that we have on the show today has been on my dream list since I started the podcast. When I first crafted who do I want to have come on and teach us the things and be the vibe and show us the way, you were on the list. Welcome to the show, Allie Reeves. I'm so
Ah,
glad you're here.
oh my gosh. What an honor. Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and it's how I pop off my Monday mornings. And you have to
Ooh.
understand that is a special spot because it's a different energy, right? It's like
Oh, yeah.
what I listen to in the bath is different than what I listen to Monday morning
Mhm.
as a working mom, as an entrepreneur. And so your podcast is like in the top 3 of that's how I'm starting my week. So
Okay.
I'm so glad you're here.
What an honor. I wish I was in the bath with you, but I guess I can just that can be on my vision board. How because I get it. That's a totally different vibe. Monday morning versus like vibey bath. These are not the same things. So
Mm-mm.
now you've given me a new level to work toward. I appreciate that.
Yes, the vibey bath is more like I'll do the more like healing side of things or the
Mhm.
more storytelling, but the Monday is the motivation. The Monday is let's go. The Monday
Let's
is
go.
let's tap into that what I call CEO boss energy where we're just like crystal clear on the vision and like we are embodying the next level. So, I need it all though. Like I need the fast, I need the slow, I need the hard, we're just all
It's
the
just
things.
it's a different day, different prescription for what it is that you're needing. I'm the exact same. My husband was actually just laughing at me the other day because one of the podcasts in my rotation, people are going to think I'm so weird for this, maybe not, but Impulsive,
Oh, what
Logan Paul's podcast. Okay, so
I'm writing
random,
it
okay?
down. I don't know what this is. I'm gonna write the shit down.
Oh my god, do you know who Logan Paul is?
No.
Oh my god, shout out oh, Lord have mercy. He's the creator of Prime Energy Drink, okay? But he used to be a YouTuber.
Oh.
His
Okay.
brother's Jake Paul, who is like the new up and coming boxer, like YouTube boxer. He's about to fight Mike Tyson.
Oh my
Anyway,
god.
I randomly came across they had some random beef, okay, where it was like all this press for their podcast. So I was like, I was in the mood for some drama. So I went and listened to it. Anyway, fell in love with these guys. They did like their banter. They actually have super interesting conversations and it's hyper masculine. But to your point, and my whole tangent of sharing that is different days, you need a different thing. And sometimes it feels good to turn off the motivation, although they can be highly motivating. And it's
Mhm.
good to turn off the healing and the self work. And sometimes you just want to hear some good old fashioned banter and just
Mhm.
giggle, and they're on
Yes.
my rotation. So anyway, that was a long way of saying I totally get what you're saying.
No, I love that. And that's actually perfect that you said that, Allie, because that points me to one of my favorite things about you is you're real. So the unperfected brand is all about keeping it fucking real and embracing the messy. And what I love about you is even though it's very clear that you have a business that you're very passionate about, that well, we're going to get to it, that you're passionate about guiding women to create lives that they love. You're also like, listen, I'll fucking have a glass of wine and watch the housewives. Like your girl needs some drama. When I'm like, thank
Right.
you, because we don't have to be all healthy. We don't have to be all business. We are like complex, wild beings. And I love that you just say it out loud and own it. And it makes me laugh when I listen to your podcast. Cause I'm like, everybody I know watches the housewives. Okay.
Right.
That's what we get to numb out by watching someone else's drama.
That's just as healing to me in a lot of ways than like actual therapy. Because like
Me.
there's something you get, it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it is deeply cathartic to hear other women bitch at each other and to
Mm-hmm.
like get that spice in my life without having to create it in my own experience. To me,
Yes.
it's a win. And that's why I tell my husband, listen, if you don't want me to watch this, that's fine. But I'm going to get the drama somehow. I can either bring it into our reality or I can get it from somebody else's, which pick your poison, pick your journey.
Choose your own adventure, you
Yeah, choose your
sweetie.
adventure, baby, left or right. I'm down for whatever. Let's go.
I know my husband's always, I don't understand how someone like so deep and intelligent watches this. And I'm like, because we get tired, honey,
Yes.
of being so
Yes.
deep and intelligent. And like at the end of the day, we're animals and we need that. We need the drama. We need the like stimulation. We
Mhm.
need the release. We need all the things. And just sitting back and watching someone else's drama instead of helping someone through their drama feels
Mhm.
relaxing to me. I don't know what to tell you, but it's a real thing.
There's a CG Jung, quote that I actually just used for my alchemist training, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher it, I don't have it in front of me, but it's something about, like, you can only get as close to heaven as far as your root like, a tree can only grow to heaven as deep as its roots go to hell. It's something like that, but the point is there's
Oh,
duality, right? You
yes.
can't be evolved unless you have experienced all the different like good and evil. That's the
Hmm.
whole point. So in
Hmm.
a way that's a perspective that we're sharing here. Yeah, we do all this really cool shit and we help a lot of women and we help ourselves and we're here to create really beautiful things on this planet and the duality and flip side of that is I want to watch fucking reality TV sometimes. Get over it.
Yeah. No, and your girl is actually quite comfortable in the like dark depths of hell. Like
Mhm.
there, I don't know if it's like the inner rebel in me, the Scorpio in me, what my soul is here to do, but I go there deep with people and I go there deep with myself. And so sometimes just watching some like surface level shit is just the safety up to air that I need. Otherwise, I'll get too cozy down there and not
For
come back
sure.
up.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's
Oh
how
my
we help
God.
people, right? Because if we're afraid of the sticky stuff, if we're afraid of the drama, how can we support anybody? That's the
Exactly.
average person's experience. There's everybody has their own version of hell going on,
That's right.
and that's how we get to help each other.
That's right. And I don't know if you resonate with this, but I feel as creators, and we're always co-creating, some of like our darkest nights of the soul lead to they either become the activator for the unfolding of the creation, or they spark the idea, or they just, I don't know, like sometimes coming out of a really dark period, I'll feel really good and really grateful. And it's fun to create from that place too. So, whether it's like an activator or an igniter or a pusher forward, I just feel like we need that sometimes
Mhm.
to keep the waves moving of creation.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes. Okay. So, let's tell the people. Let's tell the people who the heck you are. We also want to know just like that you have babies and their age and things like that, because this is the podcast for that high achieving working mama. And then tell us about what you do. And of course, I'm going to want to know your journey to where you,
Okay,
like how you got here.
sure. I'm Allie Reeves.
Mhm.
Gosh, where do I even begin?
In the
Let's start
womb.
with
Let's start with in the womb.
okay. Oh
let's
boy, well, this
start
is gonna be
with
a
the let's
long
start with the transgenerational trauma.
oh, Lord have mer in
No,
my
I'm just kidding.
past life, let's see, I'll start with the most recent 5 lives that I've had. Lord, no. I grew up in a small town in Smyrna, Tennessee, most of
Okay.
my life. We
Okay.
grew up in low middle class situations. There were a lot of times that we dipped pretty low. Things were really hard for many years, and I can now look at that upbringing and extract the gold from it because it definitely gave me an edge and it gave me a deeper level of empathy and understanding and perspective in life that now I'm so eternally grateful for. And
Mhm.
it also gave me this hunger for more. I grew up with and I hear a lot of women expressing this, and maybe it's just a lot of the women that I'm attracting into my world, or I don't know, but I just felt like the way that I grew up, which my parents did the best that they could, there was a lot of you wanna talk about drama, there was a lot of drama, but ultimately, everybody was doing their best, and I just knew this is not it. This
Mhm.
is this is not the life that I'm meant to live. This is not I'm meant to do something so much more than settling, and that's what it felt like even as a kid. Before
Mm.
I even had any other perspective of what else was out there, I was just like, "What are we doing here? Why are we living this? Why does our house look like it's why are we okay with, like, roaches being on the ground and not having presents for Christmas and not having lunch money and all having to move so many times because we can't pay rent? And why is my mom okay with a man who's beating up on her and us kids?" And, like, it all just, I knew in my heart that for me, that wasn't it.
Mm,
So the second I turned 14, which is legal age to work in Tennessee, I got my first job and I never stopped working. And
mm,
the second that I started making that first dollar for myself and I saw, okay, money is power for me. Money is opportunity, money is options.
mhm,
Money, our choice gives choices that I can see we don't have in the home because of the lack of money.
mhm,
So it created this hunger within me to create something for myself and also to provide for myself
mhm,
and to never, I won't say, I used to say, like, never lean on a man. I've healed that part of me. I think
mhm,
in a good, healthy relationship, that's actually, we want to lean on each other. So I've healed
mhm.
that, but never put all my eggs in one other person's basket because I
Yeah.
saw how detrimental that can be
Mhm,
in the wrong circumstance. So I put myself through college. I was the first one in the family to graduate from college. I put myself through. I bartended the whole time. At the end of college, I was working. I had 2 jobs. I was a bartender and I was working during the day and I was going to classes, living on my own and did that till I graduated. I went to college a little later. I took time off after high school, so I was in my mid 20s to late 20s when I finally finished college, and I was really proud of myself for doing that. And then it was a year later that I met my now husband, Chris. Brought in a whole new layer of healing for me. He was proof that love is out there and good love and good healthy relationships. He was proof because for the longest time I carried this story around that I, like my mom, would only be attracted to men that weren't good for me, the quote unquote bad guys. I
mhm,
for all my 20s I was like, I'm doomed. There's no way. I like everybody was any good guy I just wasn't attracted to.
mhm,
And then I met Chris and
mhm.
thank God I did, and he totally changed my life, and when I got with him, that's when I started my first business.
Oh, out of college, you went straight into business for yourself?
I did. So while I was in school, the other job that I had in addition to bartending was I managed social media for a string of nightclubs in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where I went to school at the University of Tennessee. And I managed social media for like multiple nightclubs. I graduated, I was still bartending, I was still doing this other job, met Chris, moved outside of Nashville where we live now, and I was looking for another job to manage social media just for another company. I was thinking maybe I'd work for a musician or something Nashville vibe, but I couldn't find a job. Nobody would hire me because I to them I was right out of or right out of college, but actually I'd been working for years up until that point. I really knew what I was doing, but I was only being offered entry level positions. So it was actually Chris who was like, "Hey, you're," at the time I was doing work for them remotely when I moved. I was still working for the nightclubs. He was like, "You're already working remote, go out and get more clients. Like you have more time. You can," and I had such resistance to it, but finally I was like, I need a job. So I started my first business called Bustle and Buzz and I
Yes.
managed social media.
Yes.
Shout out Bustle
Bustle
and
and
Buzz.
buzz. That's brilliant.
It was I was hell bent on incorporating a bee. I just had to have a bee in my brand. And that was my cute little brand, and
So
it took
cool.
off. I got a few local clients right out the gate, and I did that for a few years, for about a year and a half to 2 years, and I hated it, Brooke. I absolutely hated it by the end. It was just, I share this story because, like, I should have seen this coming, but the only way I could do my work was to get up and pop Adderall. Like
Mhm.
that was like how I was able to physically do the work is I would set alarm at 4:30 in the morning, pop an Adderall, wake up 30 minutes later, geeking out of my mind on Adderall, and then I would just
Mm.
crank out work for a few hours and then call it a day. This is pre-kids.
Yeah.
And
Do you
I
think
was
that
just
was
like,
because it wasn't your work to be doing, your soul's work, your passion work, or why was it so hard, do you think?
in hindsight, absolutely.
Yeah, like you
I'm a
were on the wrong path, and so that's why
Yeah,
it was so flippin' hard.
100%. And I'm a big believer in that. I'm a
Me
big
too.
believer that if you're on the right track, it's not gonna come easy for you. Because if it
Mhm,
did, if things started working and
mhm,
I was making okay money, it was more money than I had ever made, but it was such a grind. And if
mhm.
it had been easy, if it had been more pleasant, then I would have never left and shifted my business into what it is now.
Yeah,
I ended up getting pregnant with my first son, Cruz. Sorry, my camera's doing something weird. Okay, I think we're good now. I
yeah.
ended up getting pregnant with my first son, Cruz,
Mhm,
and couldn't pop Adderall anymore, and I was like, "Okay, so do I continue forcing myself to do this thing, or
mhm.
do I make a pivot?" And I have to tell you, at the time, everybody in my life was saying, "Deal with it. You're making 6 figures a year. You're killing it, right? You're making consistent 5-figure months. You have
Mhm,
these clients. There's so much room to grow. You can grow a
mhm,
team, outsource your work. Like my everybody was just like this. You would be so silly to shift your business. You don't even know what you're going to shift to do because I didn't. I had no idea.
mhm,
But everything in my body was saying, pivot, do something. This is not it.
mhm.
So I knew nothing else to do. The only skills that I brought to the table was social media, which was not my passion by any stretch of the imagination, but it was all that I had.
Mhm,
So, and this to give context for time, this was in 2018. No, I'm sorry, 2017.
mhm.
So, this was before the huge influx of coaches. This was right around the time that people were starting to sell a little bit more of online business courses online.
Mhm.
And I would make a commute from Nashville to Knoxville sometimes, and every time I would drive back and forth, I was listening to podcasts. I That's when I started listening to podcasts, and I was listening to Jenna Kutcher and Amy Porterfield,
Oh,
online
yeah.
business stuff.
The OGs, the
The
OGs.
OGs of the game, right?
Yes, yes.
And, oh, man, do I owe them my business because when I think it was Amy Porterfield first. She was one of the first women that I heard talking about honestly, about how much money she was making from her online business and how she was creating these educational courses and what she was like, not only the revenue that she was making, but the impact and how many people she was helping. It just it was like all of a sudden a veil was lifted and I've never been able to put it down. It was like, "Oh my god." Like, I thought I was living the dream hitting 10K months, which was incredible. But
Right.
to me, that was my peak.
That was the pinnacle.
That was the
Yeah,
pinnacle. And
because
then
your
it's like
subs hadn't seen what was yet possible for you. You had a ceiling that you needed to pop through.
that's right. And
Oh, I just
boy,
got
was it
goosebumps.
popped. Boy, was it
Yeah.
popped. And I was just like, "Okay, I know social media. Right now I'm managing it. I hate managing it.
Yeah.
What would it look like if I started teaching it? What would that look
Mm.
like?" So, that was the time, and again, I was newly pregnant, had all these clients, and I just made this decision, like, "Okay, I don't wanna do this anymore. I'm gonna start shifting more to what now is considered coaching," but at the time, it was, "I'm gonna create these online programs."
Mhm.
And I officially began that official pivot and my current business now in 2018.
Mhm.
It's been a ride ever since, and since then, we've shifted more to, like, online business practices and mindset and energy, and it's fully evolved so far. Like, it does we, of course, talk about social media because that's part of it, but
Mhm.
it's so much more than that, and it's all because of that leap of faith that I took in 2017 of and following that one nudge and question of, what if there's something else more out there? What might that look like? And I'm forever grateful that I did that. So, to answer your question with the kids, I've got 2 little boys now. I've got Cruz, who just turned 6, and
Oh
I
my
have
god.
Rhett, who is a year and a half. So we're in the little kid thick of it phase over here.
Yeah, you're in the dog days.
Thank you. Thank you for affirming how I feel because that's exactly how I feel,
You're
sister.
in the ultimate shit show, bro.
Yes.
You are in the we are trying so hard to create a rhythm and a routine, and it is like we have no control. We are just waking up and going with the flow and doing what we can. But I think it's really important that we showcase that because I think a lot of women stop themselves from going for it because of how hard it can be, but it still can be done. You just have to be really freaking intentional with your time, energy, and sanity. But I
Mhm.
want to acknowledge and honor the part of you that had the courage to leave the social media six-figure gig, the safety place, the familiar place, the responsible, right? Because I think so many of us, our family is telling us to stay because they want us to be safe. That's the responsible thing to do, but that's not usually the best thing for us. And I think it takes a lot of awareness and courage for a woman especially to listen to her body and allow the cues to be the decision maker and then to jump. Like that shit's not easy to do. All day long, women are getting the cues, they're getting the fires, and we're just like repressing it and shutting it down because that's what we've been taught to do. And it's not convenient for people for us to go for big things or for us to. My story is I did the corporate America thing for 10 years because I had my first son in college. And I was like, oh, fuck, your girl needs some benefits and like upward mobility and a real thing. And I left that job after 10 years to start my own business. And everyone was like, you're crazy. You make crazy money. You're
Mhm.
like, this has been it was my identity too, because I like grew up at Target. And they're like, you are crazy that you're going to leave that good paying job and that secure job to go like become a therapist. And I'm like, listen, I don't really need your understanding of it, and I am gonna take 10 steps backwards to then take unlimited steps forward.
Oh, that's so good.
But it
That's so good.
takes courage to go against the familiar grain, and I also grew up in the middle like, my dad's in construction, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I just saw you worked your fucking ass off to barely make ends meet thing, and so my parents were just like, "You're crazy that you're gonna leave that up," but it's like I think it does going back to what I was saying earlier about rebel, like, it takes an inner rebel to bet on yourself,
It
even
sure
when it
does.
doesn't make sense for everybody
Yeah.
else. You're just like, "But I'm going for it."
Yeah, and I have so much compassion for women who wanna do this because, to be fair, I was able to leap in the ways that I did because Chris, my husband, had a secure job, right? So, like, we had this level of foundation. It certainly wasn't what it is now because his career has since grown, and
Mhm,
I'm not minimizing the risk that I did take, but
mhm,
I can't imagine, and I'm so blown away by you and your willingness to do that for yourself, with a
mhm,
kid and trying to do were you doing it on your own?
mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
like,
that's unreal.
I met my husband when my son was little. But
Mhm.
I waited forever to date him because my first baby daddy was not good to me, and then
Mhm.
we waited 8 years to get married, so my climb in corporate was totally building a life and a stability and a future for me and my son from that toxic masculine, like, I don't fucking need nobody and
Mhm.
watch me make it. And so I I had that safety net that I built for myself, but totally understand what you're pointing to, which is not everybody has that. And sometimes you have
Yeah.
to build that first.
Different for everybody. So,
Mhm,
exactly, and I'm so glad you said that because that's exactly the point that I was getting to.
mhm,
Don't judge yourself if
mhm,
you don't have some sort of foundation and you're not prepared to make that leap yet. You will know. I firmly believe it's not gonna be like the angels part the clouds and it's, "Oh, it's time to leap. It's safe. You're protected." That doesn't happen. It's
Right.
still gonna feel scary as hell, but there's the way that I always like, for anybody who is ever wondering for themselves when the right time to leap is, the way that I navigate this myself is I think about it from 2 perspectives, like, what if it absolutely goes right? Because most people tend to focus on the negative, but also, can I handle
Mhm,
if it doesn't go the exact way that I want it to, right? Like,
mhm,
worst case scenario, this doesn't exactly go as planned. Can I handle that? Can I handle
mhm,
the ramifications? Maybe
mhm.
it looks like I gotta get another job or whatever. Can I handle that? If the answer is yes, go, leap, do it.
Tot
If the answer is no, wait till that answer is yes.
Totally. And I think you have to prepare your nervous system too.
Yeah.
While I'm not a fan of dwelling in the worst case scenario, it really does help to imagine the best case and the worst case to
Mhm.
really ground and root in your nervous system of, am I going to be okay, or is this going to totally take me out, and keep going. There was a period where I was going to grad school and I was working for my one of my good friends interior design companies, and I, even though I launched the business 2 days after I graduated, I did both for a while, right? I did both for a while. And was that so hard to be like so excited about my business and still growing hers? Yes. But that created that stability where it was finally, we came to a point where it's like, I can take the leap, and I'm gonna have to go to get the clients to replace the income, but it's not so damaging that it's gonna totally derail me. It's just gonna motivate me. So let's
Mhm.
go. But
Let's
yeah,
go.
I do think we need to honor that. And what I find interesting is that so many women, like, they start out doing what they need to do when they, whether it's going to school or not, starting to work, picking your first career. We're doing the good girl thing. We're doing the thing we're supposed to do. And then some like real life starts happening and we're like, wait a minute. I now want to do what I want to do. And
Mhm.
that transition can either be an intentional one or a big kick in the tits from the universe, which mine was. Either way, I feel like in your 30s, you do get this, it's time for more or it's time for different, but you do have to like take a little bit of a leap of faith, and it's okay to build your safety net.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was 2018 when you went all in on your business as it is
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
So amazing. So amazing. What about your podcast? How, cuz your podcast is amazing. How long have you been doing that thing?
I started the podcast in 2019, and
Okay.
that was another leap. That was another fully trusting gut of like, well, I guess we're doing this now. Had Didn't have the time for it, didn't have the knowledge. I was the worst podcaster on the planet. You can go, I don't recommend doing this, but you can happily scroll back and listen. I used to script all of my episodes,
Mhm.
but it was just one of those things, I'll never forget it. I was on a walk one day and
Mhm.
I knew I wanted to start a podcast, and
Mhm.
it was always like, one day I'll do that. And I was on this walk and it was like, no, it's now. The time, like, it just felt in my soul, the
Do
time to
it.
do the podcast is now.
Mhm.
And I listened to it, and within, I think, 2 months of that moment, it was up and running, and it started as six-figure influencer, and
Mhm.
now it's All In With Allie,
Mhm.
and it's been incredible. When did you start this podcast?
I just had my 1-year anniversary.
Oh my
So
gosh,
last
congratulations.
February.
That's
Mhm.
incredible. You
Yeah.
seem very seasoned, so I
Oh,
would
thank
not have
you.
been surprised if you're like, "I've been doing this for 10 years," because you seem like you know what you're doing, and you're very good. I was not
I
this
don't
good.
know
Even
what
a
I'm
year
doing.
in, I was just like, "Brr, what is this thing?" It took me a minute. It takes me a little bit sometimes, but we got here. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, we won't even discuss the 14 minutes of technical difficulties getting in, no big
Yeah.
deal. No, but I've just always been a talker, right? So it's like in elementary school, my nickname was Babbling Brooke.
Oh,
Surprise,
that's
fucking
amazing.
surprise. I talk for a living. Like before I was a therapist and a coach and a consultant, I was a leader of a lot of people. So I was always taught. I'm just comfortable talking to people because I'm like so curious and interested. People just bewilder me. You know what I mean?
I
I
love
love
that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into alchemy, which is something that I cannot wait to talk to you about, which was really the thing that made me reach out to you, which we'll share. I want to talk to you about like at this season in your life right now, what is the hardest thing about being a mom, being a wife, and running a successful business, and how are you navigating through it? What's the unperfected situation right now that you're navigating through?
Everything. Everything, and I think that's it, right? I'm one of those people that has a mild perfectionist bone in my body, and I'm, like, constantly whittling it down every day.
Mhm.
God's just, "We're God, dude, we're gonna get this down one way or another, sister." And it's just it rears its ugly head, but it's such a this season of life is serving me in that way because I'm and I believe too that if you for those of us listening who do have online businesses or who want to help people in a specific way, you will be tested through like the path that you want to support people through, right? Obviously, if you want to help
Mm,
people do a specific thing, you need to be a master of said thing. And the
mm.
universe, trust and believe, will provide those
Oh,
opportunities.
yes, this is
So,
so true.
which is all we'll get into the alchemy
Yeah.
conversation, but I decided a few years ago that I disagreed with this popular narrative that was going around then, which was you can't have it all. That was like the thing to say to make people feel better, or you need to pick a few things and those are your things. And I don't know. I don't know why this was like, it was just this popular thing. I would hear people say it all the time. And for a while, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Like, you can't be the doting mom and you can't be the loving wife and the equal partner. And you sure as hell can't go all in on a business when you're wanting to also be all in on your family. And then I guess if you somehow do make that work, like there's no way you can also be healthy and love yourself and feel confident. And then if you're doing all those things, then when are you making money? It was just like, okay, cool. It was almost looking back and as I'm saying this, it's almost like this conditioned narrative that's fed so carefully and so meticulously so that we do settle. And so that we do say, okay, I guess if I'm going to go for the business, I'm not going to go for the relationship because I
Mm,
need to go all in on the, or vice, if I want kids, then I'm not going to try and do the business. And at some point, and I don't know why, but at some point I was like, fuck that. No. What?
no,
And
thank you, as my
no, thank
six-year-old
you.
daughter says. No, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and I think we all could be so much better at, like, anytime the universe or social media serves us up something that's just, no, we could say, "No, thank you."
No, thank
And,
you. No, ma'am. No,
"No,
ma'am.
ma'am. No, I'll take the other like, something else, please."
What else is on the menu? Because not having it
Right.
all is not landing.
Not an option.
Right.
Not an option, because at this point, I was a mother, I was a wife, I'm an entrepreneur. I also pride myself in how I take care of myself, and it's very much part of my version of success is how I feel. So it's like, in a way, I'm okay, like, my version of I'm doing it, but we all have different definitions of what it all is, and why would we not go for it? And what I was seeing was, like, the things that I wasn't going for, I wasn't achieving, and the things that I was going for, I was. And what I learned through this is I became this woman who truly believes that you can have your version of it all, but it is not going to be perfect. It's just not. And what
Mhm.
I learned is these areas of life cannot compete with each other, right? If my business is competing with my relationship or definitely motherhood, it's not going to win.
Mhm.
Because if I had to choose my business or my babies, we're going to choose our babies every single time.
Yep.
But the reality of that situation is I'm a better mom
Mhm.
because of my business,
Yep.
period. If I did not
Period.
have a creative outlet, if I did not have my podcast, if I did not get to have this conversation with you today, if I did not get to work with the clients I get to work with and achieve in the way that lights me up, I would be depressed. I would be miserable. I'd probably be popping Adderall or Valium or
Resentful.
whatever the hell else. Tell me that would make me a better mom. look me in the face and tell me that I would be a better mom because of that. Absolutely not.
Right.
So my point in saying all that is at some point I decided I want to I truly believe that we can have it all. And again,
Mhm.
subjective, but you got to go for it. And I've just this is how I live my life, and it's become this constant practice of surrender of okay, this I and it takes a lot of very strict compartmentalization in my life. This is mommy, business mommy right now, mommy. Okay, now this, and it takes a
Mhm.
lot of intentionality with my time. But damn it, if we're making it work most
Mhm.
times. And I believe we all can do this in our own way.
Yeah, I love what you said around detaching from the expectation of how it was going to look. You can have what you want, but don't get attached to the way in which we're going to make it happen or how it's going to feel day to day. There has to be a lot of grace and a lot of spaciousness and a lot of just patience, honestly, to be like, wow. I was sharing earlier that because I've been going hard since December, all this abundance is coming in, all this business, corporate clients, all this. And then my daughter like breaks her ankle and gets sick, and I can't work for a week. And I'm like the busiest I've ever been. And the universe laughs and is that's cute. Now you're actually not going to be able to work for a week. And you have to be able to just laugh at that and adapt and roll with it and not make it mean something it doesn't actually mean. It's just life is messy. And so you can go for what you want. You can live intentionally, but don't get too set on exact like your outcomes, the how, any of that. You got to be like Gumby, just like
Right.
moving but like still going in the direction. And that's the unperfected version is it's not as glamorous as you might think it is going to be.
And support, right? Like, I would be remiss if I did not mention, and I'm happy to go into detail in this if it would be helpful, how much support we have in this house. And that's
Mhm.
part of it too. Because if
Mhm.
I was trying to do quote unquote it all, including all of the housework, including watching my kids at the same time that I'm trying to record a podcast, at the same time that I'm trying to help my clients, that's where we get screwed up.
Mhm.
That so and again, everybody's gonna be at different levels, and I worked my way up to this, but we have and I'm a big believer in
Mhm.
insane support systems for us to be able to do the things that are most valuable and important to us. Guess what's not important to me? Mopping my floors. Not I want them mopped, so
Mhm.
I'm able to hire this incredible woman that's been working with us for now 2 years. We, like, give her kids Christmas presents, we're so
Mhm.
close, but
Yeah.
I don't have that's not important to me to do it myself. It's important to me
Mhm.
to run a business and do that, so it takes that level of understanding and honesty with yourself, and then also a willingness to put these levels of support into your life as well, I've found anyway.
Yeah, no, I do want to expand on that because I think we need to normalize asking for help and receiving because we suck at receiving. We're still working as
Yeah.
women on
Yeah.
learning to receive. So tell
Mhm.
us all the things that support you and all of the things that you've outsourced because I'm all in on that. I believe
Mhm.
wholeheartedly in that. What do you
We
got? We've got the cleaner.
we have our so that was one of the very first things. Actually, when I started my podcast, remember, I had no time. I was because at the time, we didn't have nannies. Cruz was born by then, by the time I started the podcast, and at the time, we didn't have any support, like, he didn't go to a daycare or anything, it was me, and my husband was commuting at the time, so during the day, I was with Cruz the all day, and then I would during that time, I would do some calls and business stuff, and I would work at night. So I was truly burning the candle at both ends for a long time. And I'm somebody who my environment it really matters to me. It's if you're into human design, it's like
Mhm.
actually part of my human design. My environment directly impacts how I feel.
Mhm.
So a clean house is important to me. So
Mhm.
I would be like on the weekends when I should be resting, I'd be cleaning the house, leaving
Mhm.
myself no time to rest, no time to do anything. And I was on the brink of mental break. And it was so stressed and exhausted, and it wasn't pretty. And finally, I didn't even know how we were gonna make it work, and I told Chris, I was like, I've got to bring somebody in to clean this house. Even if it's just once a month, best case twice a month. Let's do it for a month. I don't know if we can do it another month. I don't know, but I have a feeling that if I bring somebody in to help me, it's gonna free me up time to rest more, which is gonna make me more productive. It's gonna make me more money, and then hopefully we'll get to keep this ball rolling.
Mhm.
So that's what we did, and hand on a Bible, we never looked back. We've worked
Yes.
with different companies, but we
Yeah.
started with 1 cleaning a month, bumped it up to 2, bumped it up to a cleaning a week. Last when I was pregnant with Rhett, I'm mildly embarrassed to say this, we were getting cleanings 3 times a week, I kid you not, which is excessive. It was I don't even know
I
how we
mean,
got
I
there.
think everybody listening, their nipples are getting hard with
Okay,
excitement, just
good.
like
For a minute, I was
they're
like, "Wait,
like,
where this is a lot." It just I don't even know what happened there.
"What? We're messy, okay?
Oh
Everybody's
my god.
messy."
It was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. They were doing like laundry and all this kind of stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
we do 2 days a week now on Tuesdays and Fridays. My woman comes in, she's my angel and she's incredible. She's like part of the family.
Yeah.
And okay, so anyway, we have our cleaner. That's where
Okay.
that started. It was one of the very first things I invested in. I'm
Beautiful.
big on investing in support for the business, things that I don't want to do.
Mhm.
Again, with the podcast, I knew I had no business editing my podcast, had no clue, didn't have the time, didn't know how I was gonna pay
Same.
for it, but
Mhm.
I trusted that somehow it will figure itself out, never looked back, figured it out.
Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Let's see, what else? Oh, shortly after that, we hired our first nanny for Cruise.
Mhm.
Which was a game changer because now Chris and I work from home, so they're still here with us. Our nanny's here with us, but she's just playing and being present with him while we get
Mhm.
to do our work. Now that Rhett's here, we have 2 different nannies, so
Mhm.
we make that work. Um,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. We were a big fan of ordering our groceries, anything
Mhm.
to save time, right?
Yes.
When you know the value of your time,
Mhm.
and you know how much money you can make when you put your mind to something that you actually are good at doing, it's a lot easier to say, oh, okay, $100 or $200 for this cleaning that's going to save me 4 hours to do whatever the hell else I want to do is beyond worth the money, beyond worth it. And that's how I
Yes.
look at everything now when I'm investing in business or time or otherwise.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like we don't monetize the value of our time.
Mhm.
And when I started doing that, when I was like, I could be spending time doing this or making this. And even that could be tenfold if it was a creation that hasn't even come through yet because it hasn't come through because I'm so fucking stressed about whatever the thing is that I'm doing.
Exactly.
And sometimes I think you have to make that investment first to clear the space. Like, not to put yourself into crazy debt or anything, but it's like sometimes I take that leap and I make that investment. Like you said with the podcast, same thing. Out of the gates, episode 1, I'm like, I'm not farting around and finding out on the tech piece because literally you saw how difficult it was for us to get started. It's like
Yeah,
my life is like that every day. I laugh at it. It's if it's not the computer, it's my phone. If it's not that, it's the series. And my husband has like lights that are colored that you talk to. There's a problem every day that's just like funny at this point. But it's like you make the investment knowing it's clearing the space, mind, body, spirit, and energetically, which then the blessings start to come through.
that's right.
And they
That's right.
always have.
They always will. I'm telling you, if you believe that when you are expanded, you're more abundant, more money will come to you, that's exactly the rule that you were setting for your life.
Mm,
So, anybody, because I see a lot of women do this where they'll invest in their business because they see this is maybe a direct investment or they can see how it
ROI.
will come back, but they won't invest in somebody to help with the kids or somebody to help with the home or groceries or whatever. And they're like, "I can just do it. It'll save me a few $100 and I'll just do it myself." And I'm just like, "What would it look like if that was done and you didn't have to do it, what would you do at that time? And how would you feel if that was handled
Mhm.
for you? To
Mhm.
me, the happier I am, the more money I make, period. I've learned this about
Period.
myself, and this is a rule of my life, and it's makes life and business a lot more fun, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and also the homestead a lot more peaceful because when mama happy, everybody happy. When mama not
Damn
happy,
right.
no ma'am.
That's
And I
right.
agree with same thing with self-care. Like I spend half my day priming this vessel, honey, so she can be the channel and the guide and the support of the people and not just my clients, my children, my
Mhm.
husband. And that's an investment I make in the yoga and the hip hop dance class and the massages and the breath work I want to do and the masterminds I want to be a part of. And it's like I spend half my day literally getting my mind, body, and spirit right so I can then give in a potent and powerful way. And that is essential to my success. Without it, everything starts like dimming down. My work, my creativity, my potency, my leadership, my clarity, my idea generation, it all starts dwindling because I'm not taking care of myself.
Mm,
So if you don't have a budget for your self care, I suggest you prioritize that first
couldn't
because
agree
when
more.
this mind and body and spirit ain't right, nothing is clicking, nothing's
That's
working.
right. The picture that came to mind is being exhausted. Let's say like this is a silly example, but this is just the first thing that came to mind.
Mhm.
You're wanting to like the further you throw a ball, like an MLB pitch, the more
Mhm.
money you're going to make or the better
Mhm.
you're going to get on the team. And you're
Yeah.
exhausted, you're practicing, you're doing all the things and you go out there you're like, "Okay, I need to do this as many times as possible to get it right." You're going to go out there, you're going to throw it and it's going to go like halfway cuz you're exhausted.
Yep.
Okay? Or you could rest, you could practice, do the things you need to do, and then go rest, visualize it, and then throw it. It's going to go a lot further. That's a silly example, but
It's not though.
that is what it's like. So many women are overextending and exhausting themselves, wondering why they're not getting the results, hustling their damn faces off
Mhm.
versus many paths to success. You absolutely can hustle your way to success. No doubt about it. But I've found that it's a lot faster and more fun when you can support yourself in the meantime and take care of your nervous system. And it's not going to look like I'm certainly not saying tomorrow you need to go put everything on a credit card and hire a nanny and do all these things that you're not doing yet. Start with one thing at a time and
Yeah.
see what that does for you and pay attention to how you feel and your level of output. It's going to be night and day difference.
Totally. And it's not like when you study any of the greats, like I'm thinking of Kobe Bryant right now and LeBron James, how do they prime their vessel
Mhm.
during and in off season? You think they don't have a mindset coach? You don't think they're getting their butts rubbed in the massage chair? You don't
Yeah.
think that they're, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Who's rubbing your
we,
butt? Come on, guys.
somebody better be rubbing my
Somebody
butt.
better be rubbing that butt.
But it's like they're getting that body right and tight. And so I
Mhm.
feel as moms, let's say you're not an entrepreneur yet or you're not working right now. Why aren't we treating ourselves the way that athletes do when we're doing literally the most important job on the planet, which is mothering? You add in owning a business or being a leader and being a mother, why are we not treating ourselves like athletes?
That's such a good
Because
point.
because we haven't given ourselves permission. And so hopefully this conversation is giving some permissions, shedding some light, like inspiring people that maybe they could take that one step in investing in themselves. Okay,
And then
let's pivot
yeah,
to the alchemy
yeah.
because this is like I started our conversation with. I've been listening to your podcast and following you on Instagram, and I know that you have been showing up consistently to grow your community, to pour into your community, and to create your offers and all the things. And something fucked up happened to you.
Mm.
Hopefully you can process. We don't need to go like deep into the processing because I know you have, but your Instagram got wiped away.
Mhm.
And any of you entrepreneurs know the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that is an essential arm of your business. Like
Mhm.
I was explaining to my husband, I'm like, it's if you own a brick and mortar and your store burns down. It's like
100%.
you've been pouring your time, energy, and sanity into this. And I'm gonna brag on you. You had like 35,000 followers or something like that. I don't know. That's a
39, yeah.
lot.
Mhm.
39,000 followers. You guys, like, I've been working consistently to have 1,700 followers on Instagram. If that gives y'all any just understanding. So when you have been building something to that 39,000, and that is literally like how you connect with people, how you serve people, how you show up, how you fucking drive revenue to your business, that goes away. And I saw this happening. And then I was watching how Allie was handling it. And she did a podcast episode on, number one, the realness of the fucking trauma that was going on and the real emotion and just all that it was stirring up. She did not spiritually bypass it. She very much honored it. But then she you pulled yourself up by the bootstraps and you like tapped into your inner CEO energy and your resilience and the way that you handled it. I was really inspired by. And so I randomly got the ping one day to just voice note you. We'd never talked before, just to voice note you on Instagram and be like, girl, I see you. And yes, go off. And then I was like, I would love to have you in the podcast. And you said yes. But that was what led me to reach out to you. So talk to us about how you turned that shit into gold and how that informed and inspired one of your latest and most juicy offers.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and I appreciate you seeing this in me and speaking it out loud. I think that's really cool because I think it's really easy on social media to hyper focus on negative things and speak that out loud, and I was really taken aback by how many kind messages I got from people appreciating how I handled this situation, which wasn't my goal. I was just handling the situation. I was like, "What? That I love that we're looking
Mm,
for this in other women and we're
mhm,
speaking it." It was such a positive moment for me.
mhm,
But yeah, so I lost yeah, I woke up one day and I got on Instagram and I got a notification that said your Instagram has been deactivated for going against guidelines, community guidelines. I appealed it. It immediately got denied. Your account has been deleted forever, like the permanent deletion.
oh my
So
God.
and just to give some context, I'd never gone against community guidelines before. I'm not like that kind of account. I'm here to support women. We could go down a conspiracy rabbit hole if we really wanted to go there. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that deep, but
Mhm.
I think it genuinely was just a mistake that was made. And I was meta verified. I couldn't get a hold of meta support because my account was gone. It's just this whole thing. So I absolutely went through the waves of emotions because you said that's exactly what it is. My b Your Instagram, for anybody who had a business like mine, Instagram is my number one way that people access me and learn about and get support from me besides the podcast. So it
Mhm.
very much was like somebody went up to my brick and mortar, put a big old padlock on it, and was just like, "Too bad, so sad. Like, you're done."
Yeah. Out of the
Um,
nowhere and with no explanation
no
and literally
explanation.
no one you could call, nothing you could do to get in.
No warning, no nothing. So, part of me is maybe I'll get it back, and another part of me is, "And if you don't, now what?"
Mm.
And what I have found is there's a lot of potential in the now what, okay? So I went through my shit and I was like, I had a good solid day of freaking out and leaning in for support and doing what I needed to do. And then came the question, now what do we do with this? And the crazy thing about this, Brooke, and I'd realized this days later, the day before I lost my account, I was in a weird mood. And I was driving to the gym and I was in such a weird mood. I didn't have any music on or podcasts, which is weird.
Mhm.
I was just like, it was one of those days you're just like drooling, driving, just like weird, you know? But I started, just like pissed off, like not really, just don't want to hear
Oh, no,
anything.
I literally know exactly what you're
Yeah.
explaining.
I don't want to hear anybody talk. Everybody's getting on my nerves. Just,
Everyone's dry humping that last nerve.
that's right. Triumph in that last nerve. And for some reason, I started praying. And I was just like, God, because I felt for a while like I was a little plateaued. That's what it
Mhm.
felt like.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't quite, I wasn't really getting to that next level. I've been baseline for a while. And that was part of the reason why I was like irked.
Mhm.
So I just was praying, like, God, I'm ready. I'm ready. Whatever it looks like, whatever it is, the next level, I'm here for it. Send me the women, the whatever, the idea. I'm in. I'm all in. I prayed this the day before this happens. Now, I have
Wow.
learned over my career what I alluded to earlier, be careful what you wish for.
Mhm.
Be careful what you wanna be known for. Be careful what you put in that Instagram bio, what you say you wanna help people grow through and you wanna coach people through, or the type of mom you wanna be or wife or whatever, like, you will be tested. You can say all day on paper that you're something, but you either are or you aren't. And how you are is how you navigate the challenges that come with that. Are you a master of this thing? So I prayed for growth. And the very next day, I was given an opportunity to show that I am growing. And to it was
Mm.
it's what you'll hear people call like a prove it moment. And they never come in the package that you think they're gonna come in, ever.
No, it's always so much uglier.
Oh, it is a shit sandwich. Like, the way that I think about this is like somebody wrapped a nugget of gold in a pile of shit and lit it on fire on my doorstep. That's what it felt like. It was like, "No, thank you." You know how we said earlier, "No, thank you, universe. No,
No,
please.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
thank you. No
Send it
flaming
back.
piles of poop today,
I
honey.
don't want it.
Not
Send it
even
back."
for the growth. No, ma'am.
No, but this is what it looks like, right? Growth is
Yes.
painful, and
Mm.
what I found was this was an opportunity to lead through something difficult that many people in my type of industry and business will navigate and go through, and what were the lessons that came through this? So, what I learned is you never put your eggs all in one basket, so I've been able to teach through that. And
Mhm.
also, the other crazy piece about this is days before this happened, I announced my next class, which was alchemy.
It's so
Okay.
good.
And when I realized that, it like my mind actually blew.
It all clicked,
It
right?
all
Like it
clicked.
all became clear.
It all became clear. And I'd said this, days before. And then I was like, oh my God. And so alchemy, for anybody who's unfamiliar, because I wasn't even really familiar with the actual definition of alchemy, but it means to transform the nature of properties by a seemingly magical process. So turning some sort of, in the old days, metal into gold.
Yes.
So metaphorically, this
Mhm.
means turning a situation into something. And it doesn't mean necessarily gold. It could be, you could turn a great situation to shit if you really want to. It's all about
Mhm.
your perspective. So I announced this class, Alchemy, and I was given this opportunity, this property that I could then transform into anything I wanted to. Do I take this opportunity of losing my account and lose my shit and bitch and moan and spend all my energy breathing down Instagram's back and just being an example of freaking the hell out? Or do I lead? Do I learn as much as I can in this process? Do I start fresh and learn and get whatever the nuggets is from that? What do I do here? And that's what I did. And I started a new account, grew it to 1,000 followers like that. Like all these people that wanted to stay in my world sought me out. And then within 7 days, I got my old account back. But it was such a lesson of we are given these opportunities all the time. And what I've learned and what I taught in alchemy is
Mm.
every experience that we get in our life, every single one has the opportunity to give to us or take from us, no matter what
Mhm.
that experience is. We are the ones who get to choose this. It's on us. We can't control the circumstance. We can't control how somebody comes at us. We can't control traffic. We can't control a month or low month, hitting a goal, not missing a goal. So many of those things are out of our control. But what we can control is our perspective of, is this giving to me and what is it giving to me, or is this taking from me and what is that and what do I choose to focus on?
Mm.
So with the idea of alchemy and what I teach is that's We have free will for a reason. How do we
Yep.
choose to use it? And what I've
Yes.
found is the more intentional you are with your free will and the perspective of which you choose to look through each situation, the more powerful you are. And the more you create more of what you actually want.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Because you can
Oh
look
my
at
God.
any, like, because one of my goals and what I prayed for was I'm ready for my next level. God gave me an opportunity. Let's make you more of a match to help women in online business lead themselves through hard, negative situations. It gave
Mm-hmm.
me more of what I wanted, but I had control of that, not the circumstance.
And doesn't that feel so freaking good to be so damn mature at this point in our lives that we are making, that we are making conscious choices, that we're standing in our integrity? Like, it wasn't that long ago that would have just flown me out into outer space like a fire rocket. And to be in your integrity, to be in your authenticity, to be in your leadership. And what I think it really illustrates, and I could always use the reminder, so thank you, is the potency of our power of choice.
Mhm.
Like, choice is one of your most potent tools in your tool belt. And when you actually realize that and you really try that on, it will change your flipping life. You
That's
will
right.
start creating from a place of intentionality and what you want. When you're just a victim to your circumstances, when you just react to things, when you're just blame and shame till the cows come home, that might feel better temporarily because it moves the energy, but it doesn't get you any closer to what you actually desire. So, what has become possible for you in choosing to handle it that way? And then, what is Alchemy, the program or the class that you're offering now?
So what was I'm sorry, what was the first question? It, like, messed
It's
up
just
in my
like,
ear.
what has it made possible for you by making that positive choice point of choosing to handle it the way that you did? What did you gain versus lose? What did you gain from that? And then rolling into like how you're teaching that or what it's informing people through the class, the program Alchemy.
So in the short term, because of how I navigated that situation, I had an influx of business, which was crazy, right? I
Yeah.
had a proverbial padlock on what I thought was my storefront, but people were just going around the back, finding the other account, getting into alchemy, getting into my memberships, signing up for the mastermind, right?
Mm.
That I in this opportunity and that's what's so important. It's and by the way, this is really important here because it does feel sometimes like we're balancing on the line of spiritual bypassing. Just look at it positive and just
Mhm.
don't freak out. Don't feel how you feel first and foremost. This is important, right? Like you can still, this does not mean if somebody takes advantage of you or does you wrong or abuses you or whatever the situation is that you don't feel how you feel from the situation. It's that once you process that and you get to a calm place where you can actually, and the way that I think about this is there's the transmutation of the emotion, right? So process your emotions first, and then you have the ability to alchemize after that.
Mhm.
Okay. So feel how you feel. Damn it. Process those emotions. All of that's perfect. Don't judge yourself. And then when you are done with the transmutation of that, now what do I do? Now what? And it's
Mhm.
important when before you move to gauge what do I want out of this? What do I want this situation to give me? Do I want this to take something from me and me like be a victim, like a true victim from this situation? Because that's going to mean that I go about this a different way. Or do I want to come out this more powerful, more capable, more prepared, more wise, more of the things that I want? So in my example of this silly Instagram situation, I wanted to come out of this more of a leader, more of an example of what it can look like to lead through a difficult situation in business when you're not expecting it and how you handle this as a business woman and owner, smart and wise and not putting all your eggs in Instagram's basket. And I was able to do that. That's how I wanted to come out the other side. So I alchemized that by doing that, but then
Mhm.
also even having more content to lead for this program, Alchemy, which served so many, and the ripple effect of, and I have so many other examples of, we all have so many examples of how we alchemize in our lives, but
Mm,
the ripple effect of being able to share that message and women hearing that and now looking at their own lives and challenges from a different perspective gives me chills. It's, this is where we take our power back, remembering that we do have a choice in what we do next. Do we turn this into shit? Do we take
mhm,
this shit and keep it shit? Or do we turn
mm.
it into gold? And what would that look like?
Mm. That's it. That's literally it. That's the mic drop.
Yeah,
Is what is the I love offering the question of once you're through the trauma response, like you said, the first initial emotional reaction, which we don't always have control over because it's a deep,
visceral. Yeah.
yeah, it's an
Mhm.
animalistic. It's from our like oldest part of our brain, right? It's like
Sure.
fight, flight, freeze, or shut down. But then the choice point, the question I love to ask is, what is this teaching me?
Mm,
What is the assignment? And it's not all rainbows and butterflies, but like,
yeah.
why am I going through this pain? What is the purpose of it? What is the assignment? Because what I know, at least in my 43 years of life, is like the hardest shit happens and then it's a massive up level.
100%.
Massive. Every single time without fail, it's a rock bottom to a massive up level when you use your choice points in a aligned manner, like when you make those conscious choices as you navigate it. It's wild.
Exactly.
And it
Exactly.
is empowering. It is empowering. That's so cool. And so the program itself, like Alchemy, is doing great, of course, because it has such authentic energy in it. It's
Yeah.
real.
It's powerful. I think I would argue this is one of the most powerful levels of awareness that you can reach, is your understanding that you are an alchemist in a sense, right? Like, we all have this ability. We all have the ability to access different levels of ourself. There's like the conscious level and then there's the unconscious level, which a lot of
Mhm,
us unfortunately play a little too much in the realm of our unconscious, not even
mhm,
aware of how habitual we're being,
mhm,
from our actions to our level of thinking to our feelings, which perpetuates what it is that we create and attract into our lives.
mhm.
Or you can rise above and choose to look at this from the perspective of exactly what you just said. If this was happening for me, if this was the monster at the end of the level that all I got to do is master it, beat it, pass this test that will then up level me, what would that be? You will handle that differently every single time if you can zoom out a little bit and look at it from a higher level perspective of your higher self.
Oh my God. That's such a beautiful place to end, Allie, because I feel like, y'all, if you can, write that shit down.
Write that shit down. Tattoo it on your forehead.
Voice note it if you're driving, but that's it. And that's how we keep evolving and keep expanding. And that, in essence, is leadership. And being an entrepreneur, being a mother, like we are leaders. And so that was just, I think, a beautiful place to end. And I want you to know, like, that there's a lot of things that you've said or taught that inspired me, but for some reason it was really that I was like, I feel like I want to reach out to this person and just say, fucking go girl. Show us how to bounce back. Show us how to be resilient. Because when you look at the most successful people in the world, it wasn't easy. It was just a fail forward and a fail forward and a fail forward and a dusting yourself off and a trying again and a believing in yourself and a, patching up your knees. That's the jam.
That's it.
It's
Every
not
story
it
that
falls into your
inspires
lap.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody's impressed with a story where everything happens exactly as planned and it's an
Mm-mm.
easy rise. By the way, like, nobody has that story, but even if they
Yeah.
did, nobody would give a shit and nobody would
Mm-mm.
hear it because it's not relatable and it's not realistic and it's boring.
That's
And
right.
that's another perspective to look at your life. If you were living a movie, you would look at the quote unquote drama or challenges in your life so different, right? If this was playing in a movie and people are going to watch this later on, how would you want it to play out in hindsight? That's going
Mhm.
to give you a different perspective too. So
Yeah, and
thank you so
truly,
much.
yes, yes, and unless you've had some real shit that you've had to go through, like, it is boring. I'm like, "Okay, come back to me, honey, when you've been just kicked in the tits a few more times, and then we can talk about real things, and you're my people." But anyways, Allie, tell the mamas where they can connect with you, where they can find all the beautiful work that you're doing in the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much again for having me and for your heart
Yeah.
and reaching out in the loving way that you did. It really made an impact on me. But yeah, please come over to the podcast. This is the vibe of conversation over there all the time. So,
Mhm.
All In With Allie, we're over there. I now have 2 Instagram accounts. So you can choose whichever one you want, but it's the original one is at Allie I Reeves, and then the other one is it's Allie Reeves, Alie Reeves. Feel free to go follow both or one of them. I will say if you follow it's Allie Reeves, we do give first dibs and pre-sale pricing on like any of my programs and stuff. That's one way that we're playing with the new account that we're having fun with. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
couple
Yeah, I love that
options.
because that's all the people that really sought you out,
Yeah,
including me. We're like, we wanna know what's going on in the here and now.
that's
It's
right.
good to know who those people are, for sure.
It sure is. Yep.
All right. Thank you for being here, Allie. So appreciate your time and energy and just your vulnerability and sharing with us today. And for the mamas listening, take care of yourselves and there for each other. And we'll see y'all same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Hey, Mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible. Because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.